A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's weekly career class. We're very glad that all of you could join. And today we will be discussing the topic social emotional skills and, more importantly, how you can grow in your career with the help of these skills. And for this, I'm very honored to introduce you all to today's speaker, Miss Anisha Jhunjhunwala. She is a professional psychologist and an emotional wellness coach. She has impacted many people through various skill development workshops, career awareness sessions, and mental health related sessions. So, Miss Anisha, thank you for coming on our platform, and we welcome you. So glad to have you here.
Thank you to the entire team of IDC for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to speak to the youth today on a topic that is really special to my heart. And I feel it's going to be very relevant to everyone who's listening to me and would understand how the social emotional skills has a relevance in the career growth that we all look forward to when it comes to moving forward in life and achieving things and growing there. Before I really begin there, I would like to quickly tell you about why this topic became so relevant in my life. It started with my own career. I was good in studies and I wanted to move forward and see how I can grow. So I took commerce based on how everybody said. So if you're not good in subjects like maths and science, commerce is one ideal option. I wanted to pursue arts and pursue psychology because I had psychology as subjects in my 11th and 12th. Later on, once I started with my journey in commerce, but somehow because of the lack of awareness, and I'm talking from it was in the year 2007, so due to the lack of awareness and the information which was not available substantially that is available today, I couldn't really figure out how do I move ahead, and I eventually took up commerce, BCom, and started pursuing CS, so a company secretary course. I did well. I could do well in the examinations. I went through that. Then after that, I did my MCom, Masters in Business Law, Corporate Law. And then one day I was like, okay, where am I? What am I doing? And where do I go now? Because I was clueless at one point of time, because somewhere the job satisfaction or the work satisfaction that we look forward to have from our career was not there in my life. And then this journey of looking back and reflecting of how my life has been and reflecting on what really interests me and on various other things, I figured out that psychology is something. And over the period also, while I was in my commerce field, I could always see myself being fascinated by different courses, the short-term courses that kept coming in front of me with regard to psychology. And that is where the journey began. And I figured out, it's like, okay, I want to move forward in this. And I can totally understand as to I'm not saying that I did not utilize those 7 years of my life when I was studying corporate law or doing the job there. But I would say that those years has helped me. If that happened, it has helped me to understand how the kids feel the pressure of choosing a career and then growing in that. And sometimes, right, it can be a rocky journey. There can be a lot of roadblocks which somewhere stops us from moving ahead, and that's the time where we need to just stand there and reflect on how do we move forward. And I am going to take you today through all those little things which would help you understand, one, how do we really make the career choices more effective, that it really becomes a career choice which would help us really seek satisfaction in our life. And also from there, we'll move forward to understand how career growth can be seen and what are some of the things that we can really administer when it comes to growing in our careers. So moving forward, let's start with the presentation. So the thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be relating the social and emotional skills to the overall career growth. So we'll start with the first aspect of career growth, which is choosing the right career. So when we talk about making a career choice and growing in it, it's a process that we involve in. Right from the time somewhere we start to become a little conscious that over the period of time, I'll have to make some choices. Let's say in ninth, your parents would start telling you that what do you think, which field would you want to get into, which stream would you want to choose, which is science, commerce, or arts, and that's how the journey begins. So that's the time when you start thinking, okay, what really interests me, and it's a process which probably starts from ninth, 10th to choosing one stream in 11th, and then moving to choosing something that you would want to choose ahead for your undergraduation and post graduation. So it's a process and not a one day of affair, which also means exploring your interests, which needs to be aligned with our aptitude and personality. I'm going to be going there as we move ahead. Also, all of that which happens has to be a well informed decision where you have enough information and you have the capacity to take those initiatives that are needed to gather the information. Often when people want to make a career choice, choose something, it's important for us to reach out to people who are there today. The options are a lot. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn. It's easy to make an account there, get the information, talk to people. And I have seen a lot of students reaching out to me, and at times when I have to do something more, I do reach out to people who have already pursued something, which helps me gain more insight and information. So that is where it is about making informed choices, and also the ability to take initiative to gather the information required to make those choices. Now, when we talk about choosing a career, the journey starts with certain kind of questions which relates to interests, aptitude, or personality. Could be like, do you like to find logical solutions to problems? Now, this is something which depends upon, do I know this? Have I been aware of what happens when I have a problem? Do I really look at it from a very logical perspective, or not? Then being, am I sensitive or emotional, or do I have the capacity to persuade somebody about something, even if it is like going to your parents and telling them something, taking them from point A to B, where A, they are not aware of anything, but then at point B, they know it, and then they are sure, or are we are able to persuade them for anything that we would want to convey them. Are we assertive? Are we able to put across our needs and wants in a manner that it is understood well by others, and not in a way where we are not able to do that, or are very aggressive in our approach? Being able to accept challenges and take risks, these are certain things. Like, these are going to be basic questions which are going to be asked to you when you are about to understand what kind of a person are you, what are some of the things that would really interests you, or what are some of the aspects of your personality which makes you who you are. And if we do not have the awareness regard to these questions, then it becomes a journey which is probably a difficult one. Maybe if you are not aware, sometimes from whatever understanding you have, go ahead and ask these questions. Similarly, ask similar questions to your parents about yourself, as to what do they think, when the same question needs to be understood from your part. Now, as I said, there are three aspects. One is aptitude, interests, and personality. So before opting for a particular career, often the career counselors will take you through a very systematic procedure of conducting certain assessments. And these assessments are probably more in line with understanding what your aptitude is, because everybody has a potential to learn a certain skill. So do I have the potential, which is administered through an aptitude test? Then the interest. So we all get different preferences. So if I, in basic terms, choosing, so I've got a set of colorful sheets, and if I have to pick, so any color, which color would I? So that's where, like, small places where we start to identify what our preferences are like. when we are given certain things and are about to make choices. So understanding where we would want to engage and what are our preferences in terms of those activities that we would want to engage in. Then the personality part, which is, so we've got different shades of traits. Now, in that, certain traits are very enduring, they are more long lasting, they are more stable with us, and that is what forms a part of your personality, which is distinct from others. And a collection of all these three aspects, three assessments which is done, which will help us understand what kind of career options would be more suitable to us. So this also involves in a lot of awareness that is needed from our end. Now, once we've understood that the first step involves a lot of self-awareness, now we'll understand how is self-awareness a part of social emotional skills. And then once we are able to understand social and emotional skills in general, we will understand how SEL, which is social emotional skills or learning, is very relevant in understanding how would we move forward in our career and grow there. So that's where how do social emotional skill helps. It's if we are aware and if we know certain things about ourselves, it's easy for us to make career choices, and then of course fostering the growth there. It also allows to take initiative, which is very relevant in understanding what all do I really need to make those informed choices. And it's from time to time, it's not just done at the starting level. Right from the time when I've chosen a stream, then choosing where in which field I would want to do my graduation, then there are some specializations that are required. Once you are done with your studies, then when you are moving into really working in the corporate sector or wherever you would want to work, you would get a lot of options, a lot of expertise would be available, wherein where you have to specialize or where you would want to specialize is something that you also need to pick. So what exactly are social and emotional skills? When we talk about social and emotional skills, it could be understood with respect to two types of intelligence. One is the intrapersonal intelligence and the interpersonal intelligence. One, which is our ability to know what our thoughts are like, or how we feel in certain situations, how our behaviors are like. Also, our ability to regulate them, to transform them, such as if I'm feeling angry, what am I angry about? How do I make sure that I express my anger in a manner which is more acceptable? Then the other part, which is about the interpersonal intelligence, it concerns more on how people manage their emotions, they perceive themselves or engage with others. So the intrapersonal is more at the front, where it talks about self-awareness, self-regulations, self-control. On the other hand, the interpersonal intelligence, which talks about my capacity to relate with others. So that is what overall social and emotional skills. I would move to the other slide to help you understand how in the growing years the SEL, which is social emotional learning, is used as a tool to make sure that the kids have an overall development. So in the growing years, the focus is more on the intellectual development, that the child grows, knows how to process the information, can think critically, analyze the information that they receive. But at the same time, the social and emotional skills, which is found to be very important, somewhere goes missing. Other is also that somewhere, like, you need to be lucky in order to really have that opportunity where your teachers or the school really pays attention to these skills. So if you are lucky enough where the school makes sure that it's not only the intellectual development that needs to be encouraged. But along with that, the social and emotional skills, then you will get the opportunity to really work on these skills and see how you can improve. So that is where social emotional learning, which this is a model which has been given by Castle. So it includes 5 elements: self-awareness, which means the ability to recognize one's emotions, the values, my own strengths, and my own challenges, in terms like simple as strengths or weaknesses. The other part is self management. So once I'm aware of those things, my ability to manage my emotions and behavior to achieve my goals. So at the self awareness level, I need to know what my needs and wants are like, and then work towards understanding how can I manage myself in a way that would help me achieve my goals. Then at the other front, we have social awareness and relationship skills. So in the social awareness part, it includes understanding others, showing empathy towards them, and then using the same skills, the part of social awareness, to understand how can I form positive relationships with others, how can I really work in teams and deal with conflict if it arises. And then the last part of SEL is responsible decision making. At various points of time, we have to make decisions, understanding what our choices are like, what we want to be. The personal behavior or the social behavior that we would want to showcase. So keeping all those things in mind about our ability to make ethical and constructive choices, that is something which is covered under responsible decision making. So this is the model which has been often widely used in schools, which have been working towards ensuring the equal amount of development in regard to social and emotional skills. So this is something that I've already spoken to you about, which is that when you look at these 5 aspects, you can see them here: the intrapersonal intelligence and the interpersonal intelligence, the ability to recognize my own feelings and also being able to regulate them. At the interperson, it is my capacity to understand my social situations and also being able to form relationships there. Now, that was the part where we understood when we are about to make career choices, it has a lot to do with my ability to know what I really want, what my interests are like, how am I as a person, do I gel well with people, do I know how to manage conflicts. It's not like that if you do not have these skills, you can't really learn them in your life. You can, but an awareness is the key, where you know that okay, this is where I lack, and that is how I can move forward in case if I feel I am opting for a career that would want me to talk to people. For example, while I was growing up, I was probably a shy kid, somebody who would not talk much, and often feel really uncomfortable starting or initiating conversations. But of course, over the period of time, look at me, I'm talking to people. I've been talking to people on various platforms, and that is how I have improved over these years based on recognizing what I really wanted to work upon if I am choosing a career. And all those who are there present here seeing the webinar. Now, as we move forward, we'll also be assessing ourselves as we move forward with all the parameters that we will see, which is very relevant to our career growth. I would want you all to rate yourself and see towards the end, where do you think you would want to improve based on your current assessment. So keeping that in mind, once we have identified the direction that we would want to take, we've got into our car, we are going to be moving there, but we have to make sure that we reach the destination and we keep growing there, and we keep exploring on that journey. So keeping that in mind, we will now start understanding what are some of the factors which are very relevant for our growth in any field that we choose. So, anytime when we start to work in any direction, either we are working for someone or we are doing our work, something which is very relevant is the task performance. So any organization where you are working or your organization, it is about performance, whether you're performing or not, getting the things done, and the ones that are required, how they are required, understanding that, and then doing them on time. So the first part is task performance, being able to do the work, being able to achieve the goals, the targets that have been set forth by you or by your employer. The second one is the ability to regulate my emotions, having a calm and positive approach towards handling stressors and understanding how do I deal if I have been feeling unpleasant in any way, or if people around me or my team, or if I'm the leader, then my team, how do I help them feel pleasant and then work towards achieving those goals. The third one is collaboration. So it's an overall concern for the well-being of others, but also having like aligned with our own concerns for our well-being. So making sure that we are able to ensure our well-being along with others, and that's what collaboration collectively entails. The next one is openness to experience. Growth is about understanding, it's about seeing further, and in order to really go there and look beyond that, it is very important for us to have certain skills that helps us explore and see what next. And that is where exploring the world and of things and ideas that we can have. The next one is engagement with others, which includes enjoying and excelling in the company of others, being able to engage with others, being able to take people along with you. So we'll be going, so this is something which comes from a research, a recent study that OECD intends to do in order to really understand if we can develop an international assessment, because somewhere SEL has been found relevant over the years, but the only problem is that we do not really have any reliable matrices to measure them and to see where we can really direct people to keep improving. But that does not mean that it's not required or we cannot grow. Even if we do not have any reliable matrices at the moment, each of these skills still are very relevant and would be needed in case if we look forward to growing in life. So keeping that in mind, so this is one model that they have been adopting to really understand what could be their strategy of assessing and then identifying an assessment tool which can be used internationally. And when they have placed when they are moving in the process of this assessment, they have identified the big 5 domains of social and emotional skills, which includes these 5 things that I just talked to you about briefly in the previous slide. So as we move forward, I'm going to be taking you to all of these things with certain examples, and that's where I said we are going to be assessing ourselves. So I want everybody to, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I want everybody to be ready with a pen and paper and see where do you score, and then of course talk to your teachers, parents, anybody in the community that you feel can help you grow and improve, so that in case if we move forward, it's not the intellectual development that we're ensuring, but also making enough efforts for our social and emotional development. So that is where you have 30 seconds to quickly grab a paper and pen and just note the heading and then write a score. And then you can maybe talk to somebody to seek guidance from them. Okay, so here we go ahead. The first part is task performance. In task performance, there are 4 parameters. First one is achievement orientation. it is very important for us to understand that it is important for us as human being to set our intentions right. And when we talk about that, we need to have certain standard that we can have for ourselves, and then we work towards them, and we work towards achieving them. So that is where the achievement orientation comes. Now anybody who would want to give a 10 on 10 score, that person needs to analyze whether they're really they have this energy where they feel they have high level of mastery in some activity, and then they enjoy working towards that. So that is where you can go ahead and give yourself a score which is more towards the 10. Or if you feel you're not really interested in career development, and that is not something that you really enjoy, maybe a lower score on a scale of 0 to 10. Then the second one is responsibility. It is important, be it work, be it school, be it any place where we are working. It is important for us to honor commitments, be punctual and reliable, on whom people can depend, and making sure that you are able um, to address what is really required in the work that needs to be done. So keeping that in mind, if you feel that you arrive on time for any kind of appointments, you're very particular about reaching school on time, going to college on time, very particular about the set of classes that you want to achieve, and you want to do things in the right way, then again a higher score towards a 10. But if you feel it is very difficult for you to follow through on agreements or promises, and somewhere you feel that it's not something which comes easy for you, maybe a lower score. The third one is more about the impulse control. So in the world of distractions, it's very difficult for us to keep our attention to something. We've been talking about the attention span has been going down over these years. So much of distractions around us, and it becomes difficult to focus our attention on anything that we do. In fact, keeping away the phone for a concentrated 1 hour of work is also a task. You really have to prepare yourself, thinking that okay, I'm assuming that I would not get any urgent calls and things like that. So self control is about being able to avoid distractions, focus our attention on current task in order to achieve personal goals or anything that you would want to do. So if you feel that you do not rush into things, and you are very cautious, and you understand your risk, and you understand the overall situation, you can know the pros and cons of the situation, then in such situation a higher score would be something that you can give to yourself. But if you feel you are a little impulsive, and you want things right now, you want to do this right now, and any series which is released, right, you want to watch it on that day itself, you can't really hold on to this desire of waiting for the other day to watch the second episode. So if you can't really control yourself there, then maybe a lower score is something that you can decide to give yourself. And of course, this is a skill and often comes from the habit, which can be learned over time. Then the next one is persistence. Something which is again commonly found as a challenge these days, being able to establish consistency in what you are doing. So that is where the tasks that you are doing, the activities that you are involving in, making sure that you complete them and you just don't leave them incomplete. So if you see that you've been able to finish your homework and projects, once you start on them, and then you feel you are somebody who would really make sure that okay, when I've started this, I'm going to finish this, then maybe a high score. But if you are somebody who gives up easily when confronted with obstacles or distractions, and you would not been able to find that consistency, maybe you can go ahead and give yourself a lower score. Now we've established 4 scores. on achievement orientation, on responsibility, self-control, and persistence. And once you have that score, of course, you know what to do once the webinar is over. Go to people around you and ask them, how do I work towards improving any of these things which you feel is important for you to grow in your career and move forward. Now we move to the second one, which is emotion regulation. As you all know, I'm a psychologist and I work in a one-to-one setting. And one of the common challenges that I've heard from people is their inability to regulate their emotions. And somewhere these challenges come more from how our overall environment has been over the time. Somewhere in the growing years, we're often asked, or if somebody responds to our emotional conversation, they would somewhere invalidate the emotions. So that is where the unpleasant emotions that we experience, we kind of push them away, and we do not really want to acknowledge them and see how they work for us and how they help us. Because most of the emotions that we experience is for a reason. It's not randomly felt by us. So when we talk about emotional regulation, we will see these three aspects and see how these three aspects are very relevant in helping us being able to regulate the emotions. The first one is resistance, the stress resistance. We all have different stress reactivity. How you react to stress may not be the same way in which I react to stress. Also depends upon age to age and various other factors that we all differ in. So keeping that in mind, whenever we face a situation which is likely to cause anxiety or is a stressor for us in life, then in such a situation, how do we calmly solve those problems and handle those situations is something defines our stress resistance. If you're able to do that well, you're able to handle high pressure situations, then in such a situation you can go ahead and rate yourself on a higher score. But if you are somebody who worries about little things that are there, somewhere also has trouble in sleeping or is clouded with a lot of thoughts or has overthinking is one of the challenge, then you can go ahead and give yourself a lower score. And of course, stress is something which can be handled well when you have faced similar situations. So keep trying new things and see that if you try new things and if you are experiencing the same stressor the next time, do you see an improvement because you've already handled that. So exam anxiety somewhere goes down over the period of time when we have appeared for many examinations. So, or the exam anxiety in the start could be really high for the first exam that we give in the first semester, and then it comes down over the next exams. So that's where you go ahead and rate yourself for stress resistance. The next one is optimism. It is important for us to have an approach where we are able to look at the things as a whole more objectively, and yet pick up the things which are working for us, which are positive, which are optimistic, so that we can see through the difficult times with a more optimistic approach. So if you feel you are generally in good mood and you have an approach which is looking at the optimistic side, expecting good things to happen, because we know the possibility could be where both good and bad things can happen. But then you drive yourself, you become tolerant enough to put yourself as a place where you can expect more of good things to happen, then you can go ahead and give yourself a higher score on the scale. But if you feel that you often feel sad and you tend to feel insecure, it's fine. That can also be worked out once you start to understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Then over the period of time, you can develop an optimistic approach. But it is very important that we identify where we stand today so that we know how do we work ahead. Then the third one in the emotional regulation is emotional control. Everyone experiences challenges in different ways. But then over the period of time, we identify effective techniques for regulating our emotions, difficult situations, such as different people express anger differently. We all experience anger. Sometimes certain people express anger in a manner where they would go ahead and shout, or they would get irritated, or say certain things that might hurt people. Other times, people somewhere feel these emotions passively and don't really come forward and express them to others. So we all have our own ways in which we've been managing our emotions. But the point is, do we understand as to whether they are healthy ways to deal with the unpleasant emotions or not? So, identifying what are some of the effective strategies for regulating our emotions, irritation, and anger that we often experience at times when we are going through something which is challenging. So if you feel you know how to manage your emotions, and you can kind of calm yourself down before really reacting, wherein you respond to the situation rather than you react, then go ahead and give yourself a higher score. But if you feel you get upset easily and you're very moody, and your mood depends upon a lot of things such as the people, the situations, then in such a situation, somewhere something needs to be done, because these things are controlling you, wherein the control needs to lie within. It's more effective and it's more beneficial for all of us. So that's how we're done with the emotional regulation. So far, 4 from the task performance, 3 from the emotional regulation. Now you already gathered score for 7 parameters when it comes to SEL, and I'm sure all of it is really going to help you as you move ahead. Now we come to collaboration. So it has 3 elements. So first one is empathy. Empathy, as we have heard, is about putting ourselves into others' shoes and understanding how they've been feeling or thinking. So keeping that in mind, if you are somebody who is able to comfort your friends and is able to really give them the hope that they are lacking in that moment, and you can sympathize with people around that you see who are in trouble, then you are empathetic, and maybe you need to give yourself a higher score. But sometimes we tend to disregard other people's feeling. We're very consumed in how things are working for us. Then maybe we need to work towards understanding how can we be more empathetic, and this is very critical to working in teams and working with others, because we are social beings. We are going to be around people all the time, and in order to really form healthy relationship, being empathetic really works well. So make sure that you have few friends that you can comfort them from time to time and see, can you be empathetic and really put yourself in their shoes to understand their problem, rather than just disregarding their feelings and emotions or their ideas. The second one in collaboration is trust. So uh, it is about understanding how can we really establish a relationship where there is trust, not being harsh or not being judgmental towards other, and we tend to allow others in our life, and we do the same for them. So if you feel that you are not somebody who would want to pass any kind of judgment, and your intentions are there where you are forgiving others for what they've done wrong, then in such a situation, go ahead and give yourself a high score. But on the other side, if you are more suspicious of people's intentions, then maybe a lower score. The next one is cooperation, living in harmony with others and valuing the interconnectedness amongst all people. So it is very important that we cooperate when we work with people. So if it is easy for you to get along with people, you have the ability to take other people's perspectives and respect their decisions, then in such a situation, it is going to be easy for you to cooperate with them. Go ahead and give yourself a high score. Otherwise, if you are blunt, if it's difficult for you to compromise, sorry, then a lower score. The next one is open-mindedness. It again has three elements. The first one is curiosity. Important. It's important to be curious about learning, because that's how growing is about, seeing what next. And if you have that curiosity, it's easier. But of course, you can develop that curiosity over the period of time and see how you can go ahead and make sure that you have an inquisitive mindset who's curious to know what's next and what can be done. So interest in ideas and love for learning, important. If you are somebody who kind of grasps information from around the world, such as reading books and traveling to different destinations, and you really appreciate that, then curiosity is on the higher side. Go ahead and give yourself a higher score. But if you're somebody who is very comfortable in their comfort zone, you do not really like any changes, and you're not interested in exploring new products, or if you're somebody who would want to try the new cuisines or anything which is new away from what you have experienced earlier, then the curiosity quotient is probably high. Then the tolerance. Over these years, like how we've been seeing the world changing constantly, the need for tolerance is constantly increasing. So it is important for us to be open to different points of views, values, open to the diversity that we see around. And if we are appreciative of that, then tolerance is high. So having friends from different backgrounds, that is something which shows that you are high on tolerance. Give yourself a higher score then. But if you dislike others who are different from you, who are away from the norms probably the society has set, then in such a situation, the tolerance level is low. The next one is creativity, which is generating novel ways to do or to think about certain things through exploring, learning from failure, insight, and vision. From time to time, we sometimes experience challenges. So if we are experiencing those challenges, can we come up with something which is different from the possible solutions that have been offered so far? So if you feel that is there, then in such a situation, you are high on the creativity part as well. Has original insights, is good at arts, then a higher score. But seldom daydreams, addresses very conventionally, follows a very conventional path, something that has been laid over the years, and you just abide by that, then in such a situation, creativity is on the lower side. So we're already done with 4 aspects so far. We're going to be moving to the 5th one, which is engagement with others. So collaboration was more about empathy, trust, and this one is more about, can I really engage well with others? So it has 3 aspects. The first one is sociability, which is able to approach others. Sometimes we find ourselves socially awkward. Sometimes we don't know how to initiate conversations. So that is where sociability allows us to approach others, both the friends and the strangers, initiating conversations, forming social connections with them. So if you are somebody who is really good with a new student entering the class, and you would want to go to them, talk to them about where they come from, and you are interested in talking to them, then a higher score there. But if you are somebody who would want to sit away from a larger group, and you prefer one-to-one conversations more, then maybe a lower score. Assertiveness is to confidently voice your opinions, tell how you feel, Of course, this does not mean you disregard other people's opinions or their ideas, but at the same time, you are confident, you value your own opinions. Voicing your opinions, being able to put across your feelings and needs to others, that is where assertiveness is high. You take charge in the class or in the team. You are open towards communicating and sharing your feelings with others, then a higher score. On the opposite, if you wait for others to lead the way, you are somebody who would keep quiet, and somebody really would have to insist you to tell how you are feeling, then maybe the assertiveness on the lower side. The next one in this is energy, approaching daily life with energy, excitement, and spontaneity. So you like being busy, you really like long hours, you would want to engage in different types of activities, you have a very organized schedule, and you are always energetic and enthusiastic about things going on in life, then maybe a higher score. On the other side, if you get tired very easily, a lower score. The last skill sets that we are going to be talking about is the compound skills, which is probably the combination of different skills, the 5 skills that we have understood ahead. The first one is self-efficacy. It is about our belief. So you face a challenge and you have belief, okay, I know I may not know the answer, but I know how I can figure out an answer. So if you have that belief, you feel that you have the ability to execute tasks and achieve goals, then you can go ahead and give yourself a higher score. On the other hand, if you avoid challenging situations, a lower score. Critical thinking or independence, which is our ability to evaluate information and interpret them through our independent and unconstrained analysis, where it's not about anything which is limited there, but anything which we feel we would want to interpret it on the basis, then maybe you can go ahead and give yourself a higher score. So good at solving problems, and you are comfortable in easy, new and unknown situations. Or on the other hand, dependent on others' guidance, seeking validation, then a lower score. Self-reflection or metacognition is more about the ability to reflect on our experiences. It is as simple as the ability to reflect on our day, our own subjective experiences, our understanding of what has happened so far, the meanings that we draw about our life experiences. So that is what is metacognition. So if you are somebody who can reflect well and come up with better strategies based on your reflections, a high score. But if you kind of overestimate or underestimate the situations, or you're not able to really understand somewhere what you would really want to move forward with, because the self-reflection is low, then maybe you can go ahead and rate yourself on a lower side. So we know that preparing the students over all the growing years from the higher education, the 11th and grade 12th grade period to the higher education that we further seek in graduation, post graduation, only preparing at the academic front may not really help them to achieve success, feel connected to people, and the well-being that is really important for whatever that we would want to pursue in life. So we need to understand the importance of the social and emotional skills, which is equally relevant, which is going to give us that push which is needed. So now my question to everyone who's been hearing me out so far, to the teachers, to the parents, to everyone who's been part of the community, which is, are we encouraging the growth of the children in a way that allows them to make well thought decisions about their careers? Are we giving them enough chances where they can take calculated risk, try new things, or are we just allowing them to follow the conventional paths and not allowing them to really explore the unexplored version of themselves? So the question to this is no, then we really need to reflect ourselves and see where we can encourage the development of these social and emotional skills, because the career choice and the growth majorly depends upon the social and emotional skills. The other question that I would want to ask is, are we inculcating a mindset in them which allows them to reflect, correct, and grow? That means allowing them to make the mistakes, allowing them to reflect on the learnings that they've had from different situations, and make sure that they correct them when they're moving forward in life and growing overall. So all of these things that we've understood today has been very relevant to the growth, and it is our responsibility as individuals of this society to make sure that the youth today, the growing generation that we have, gets these opportunities, and we are the one who understand it and are able to offer, because that is what as a role of an adult that we need to play in their lives and in our communities as a whole. That's it for today. Thank you so much. We can proceed ahead. You can let me know, Samar.
So thank you, Miss Anisha. That was a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure a lot of us have understood about the concepts that you talked about today. And now we'll be taking up a few questions. So everyone, please do feel free to post your queries in the chat. See that we're getting a few questions now. So, Miss Anisha, one question is how to cultivate discipline in children. This is from a parent. How to cultivate discipline in a child.
A lot of times, of course, this question, the answer would vary from age to age, but I would give a generic response to it, keeping in mind. Sometimes, if you see that a lot of discipline has been lacking in the entire routine of the child, I would suggest that you start with one thing that you would want to discipline first. Help the kid understand, and if it's an adolescent, we have to understand their mood fluctuations, we have to be empathetic towards them, and having a conversations, helping them understand how all of these things are relevant. That could be the first step. Once you've had those conversations with the kids, the second step would be to understand where you would want, where you feel it's very important. Let's say disciplining only in a simple part where you want to make sure that the kid spends a certain time for exercising, spend certain time for studying. So maybe the first step could be to make sure that you help them understand the relevance and allow them to take the first step towards that, and maybe just one thing at a time, and then you help them be more disciplined by encouraging them to have discipline the other areas of their life as well. So that is something, could be one step that you can take.
Thank you for that. Now moving on to the next question. Can an academically bright student excel in his or her career if he or she has very low emotional and social skill level?
This is a difficult question. Reason being, a lot of things happen around the environment which defines. For example, for any kid, I'll give you an example. For any kid to perform really good in any examination depends not only on the efforts of the kids, but depends upon lot other factors. It depends upon how he's handled the emotions before the examination. Was he well when he went for the examination? Did he have enough resources at the time while he was appearing for these examination? How was the paper set? Was it according to what he had prepared, or what was being taught in the school or college, or wherever the school was, the kid was going? So a lot of these things kind of define the result of that child. In a similar manner, your intellectual capacity definitely allows you to perform the task well, but again, this task needs to be performed in a social setting. This task need to be understood well as to why do you want to perform, which again comes from your intrapersonal intelligence as to why is this important, the motivation for me to keep doing that task. Then again, where I'm performing the task, there are a lot of people who would help me perform the task. So how is my relationship with those people who are helping me perform the task? So we cannot really identify one element to it, but there are so many factors which have been affecting it. But the studies definitely show that social emotional skills help the children improve on their school achievement, has helped them improve in terms of their work performance, has helped them seek more satisfaction, because it's going to be eventually a subjective experience of how satisfied I am in my job and how satisfied I am in my overall life. Also, when it comes to health, self control is about making sure that you eat right, you discipline yourself well enough, all of those things. So keeping these factors in mind, it's difficult to pinpoint that out, but over the years, the studies have shown that SEL play a very important role in making sure that the kids perform well, and the chances of success, of course, becomes better. The one who can lead well, or who's there performing really well, has a good interpersonal and intrapersonal intelligence.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have a similar question. So which would you say is more important in an adolescent, IQ or EQ?
I was good in studies. I performed really well with my graduation. Um, and that is where this entire journey of my life began. I was good in studies. I passed my CS examination along with my graduation. I did my master's. I did double master's, master's in commerce, and a distance education master's in business law. Along with that, I also started with my internship. I was doing really great. And when I look at that, I'm questioning what was wrong. What was something which was missing? I was good in communication. Everything was going really well, but somehow my capacity to deal with my own emotions, my capacity to understand what I really wanted in life and how do I want it, because I realized that everything that I was doing, moreover, flew as an influence from others uh, in my environment, and it was not something which was driven by me, something that I wanted to do. And when I landed up at a place like, okay, asking these basic questions to myself as to what am I doing, I was clueless for a while, and it took me some time to realize that even if I was intelligent, doing good, and functioning really well in my environment, but somehow not being able to understand a lot of things from my environment and process the same about myself, I was lagging behind. And I realized that it was social and emotional skills that maybe didn't know how to process my emotions or understand what I wanted. So I think the combination of two would be amazing, because if you do not have a logical brain to function well, and if you do not have an emotional brain to drive you well, we can't really move forward. We need both of them.
All right. So this brings me to another question. So we talked about creativity, agreeableness, and all other such traits. So to what extent can one change these traits to their advantage?
Um, all of these skills are learnable. We can learn these skills. And the more efforts that you put, the more understanding that you develop in terms of understanding where you stand today. And you seek constructive feedback from people who are there guiding you. And you try different techniques available, or the researches that has been done over time. You can work towards improving on each of these traits, and to what extent you can go to absolutely depends upon how much you want these traits to be there for you, to help you and to help you grow in your career. So of course these can be learned and improved to great extent. I can give you a lot of examples about myself where like I gave you an example. I did not know how to. I'm very comfortable now talking to people, the new people, absolutely strangers. And plus my work entails that. So I am very confident about talking to strangers.
Thank you for that, ma'am. So if we have any more questions, I would request all of you to reach out to us on our contact, which I've pasted here. And meanwhile, we'll take one more question, the last question for today, which is, could you give us an example of one technique, to manage our emotions? It could be any emotion, say fear or anger in a certain situation. So what could be one technique to manage that?
Okay, if you all are writing the technique, I'm going to give you a very interesting technique. It's called as a wet technique. So first one is validate your emotion. Whatever you are feeling, understand that each of these emotions need to be acknowledged. So allow yourself and tell yourself, label the emotion right. So take a deep breath and tell yourself, okay, I'm feeling anxious at the moment. Then the second question that you really need to ask yourself is, how is this emotion helping me? So that is E. So V is validate the emotion, E is explore the emotion, which is how is this emotion helping me? And T is transform the emotion as to what can I do about it now? Does this emotion want me to take some actions? Shall I talk to somebody about my emotions? What exactly is this emotion telling me? And how do I transform this emotion? So, for example, you are suddenly having doubts where you are not sure about whether you're performing well or not. So you think through this and you kind of transform. So even if I'm not doing well, if I feel that way, I would want to go and talk to somebody and see where I can improve. So that is how you use the T in the wet technique to transform that feeling to a feeling which is more pleasant, and understanding if the emotion is helping you to take certain actions, take those actions. So once you take the actions, the anxiety is away, has gone, and then you are able to feel pleasant, feel relaxed, feel calm, comfortable, composed.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that was very helpful. And so to all of our viewers, now we'll be ending the session and we'll see you in the next weekly career class. Miss Anisha, thank you so much for coming to our platform. That was an amazing session. And would you like to add something?
My last words before we really end the session would be that the emotions are there to help you, and each of the emotions that you feel, allow them to be felt by you, allow them to guide you navigate through the challenges of life, and keep working towards learning, because somebody who can stand in a situation where they feel like a failure or they have failed, and they feel that okay, it's not really working out, but I can put myself into a place where I can push a little and move forward. I'm sure that would put you into a mindset which will help you grow, rather than just getting stuck with labels of being intelligent or smart. Maybe we can all try towards being hardworking, learning, a good learner, and use these tags maybe or labels that we often use, and make sure that we keep moving in that direction. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. So we'll be ending the session. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye for now.
Okay, bye bye everyone.